dislocated shoulder now, the latest thing, you can just sort of no biggie?
I don't know.
Less than a week later? Good for him.
Significant padding, I saw. I didn't see a picture of it. Maybe there was one, but I read a caption that just said he's there's a lot going on there just to try to protect him. So, I don't know. Maybe it's for show. I have no idea what they're doing.
Wow.
It would be stunning if he played with suffering that injury last week to me.
Oh, my God. Definitely. It was right there, maybe out for the year with him, but he didn't have the tear, torn labrum, so I guess he avoided that, but he's already back on the field? Wow. Sal Capaccio with us on the West Her hotline. We're talking about the Bills-Jets rivalry. I guess I'll just use the word earlier. It's funny how the Jets are just like different from the Dolphins and the Patriots, I guess I would say, Sal. And, you had the Brady years, of course, where New England was just way too much. And the 70s with the Dolphins. The Jets and the Bills, though, are rarely good at the same time through the years. Late 90s might be the last time it was true. So they're sort of like in a different category for me.
Yeah, I think back to maybe early 80s. The first playoff game I ever remember watching was Bill Simpson, the interception at the end on Richard Todd, right? Jets, Shea Stadium at the time, right? And then kind of both teams, really, the Jets were pretty good a little bit, I guess, there in the 80s for a hot minute. In mid-80s, they weren't bad. They had that epic playoff game in Cleveland that goes into overtime. The Jets, then when the Bills wind up getting, Jim Kelly and them, Kelly's first game is against the Jets, but the Jets kind of went on the decline. The Bills go on the upswing. And then, I guess for a little while in the 90s there was a bit of a rivalry. And then, of course, the Jets now are going through what the Bills did. It's really crazy to think about that the Bills had this 17-year playoff drought and they break it, but now the Jets are going through their drought of their own, and it's already at 14 years, which is crazy.
Yeah. We'll get to the Oliver news, of course, here. But, man, that Browns game you mentioned, holy cow, Bulldog.
Yeah.
Remember this game?
I don't.
This is the week before the drive, right?
Okay. Yes,
so
that's right.
Cleveland would win the game and go on to face Denver and lose in the AFC Championship. But, Sal, the Jets, I've watched this game a few times. The Jets are up 10 late. We just saw what the Bills did. Mm-hmm. Not too different. Like, the Jets were up 10 late in Cleveland, and the Browns got him eventually in overtime. Mark Mosley is the Browns kicker, and he missed one from like 20 yards or something to keep the game going, but then he eventually wins it. So I'm glad to think about that game here. Mid-'80s Jets, Gastineau, like they had a nice run.
The sack exchange.
The sack exchange.
Yes, New York Sack Exchange.
All right.
You ever watch the special on that?
I have not.
30 for 30 on it, I think. I don't. A lot of these run together now. The 30 for 30s and all those things, and it's really good actually. And there was animosity. They didn't like each other. I think Klecko and Gastineau, and Marty Lyons.
Marty
right?
Lyons
was the other guy.
I can't think of the fourth guy. I was just running through the thing in my head just as you said the names. And Marty Lyons was the third guy. Klecko and Gastineau, I remember. I don't know who the fourth guy is. Maybe there were two of him.
It might have been a 3-4.
I thought it was only three guys.
Oh, okay. Then it's okay. There you go. Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Marty
Lyons is giving him the business.
But anyway, it was a real good. They didn't really like each other. Klecko and Gastineau, to be honest with you, kind of interesting.
All right. So sorry to bury the lead. Oliver in a boot. What happened?
We don't know. Bills held a walkthrough today. So when we got the media schedule earlier in the week, the Bills were going to have a practice today, like a normal Thursday. We'd go out there, we'd watch, then we'd go talk to players. We got an update today that the team was going to hold a walkthrough. Now, I don't know this for sure. My assumption is they went pretty hard yesterday. Let's get their legs back, get the body back. Let's do a walkthrough today. Go over everything, make sure the details are buttoned up. When they have a walkthrough, the media does not watch the practice. So we were told, okay, yep, we'll have the walkthrough, and then you guys can come in like normal and talk to players. So we get there a little after noon today. Their walkthrough was done. Go in the locker room, and I see Ed Oliver playing ping pong. And I look down. He's got a boot on his left foot. I didn't think too much of it other than, okay, that's not good. He's got a boot on his left foot. But the reason I say I didn't think too much of it is because he's playing ping pong. Right. And he's got a boot on. And and honestly, like I've done this long enough where I will tell you guys, I've seen guys in boots a lot, and it just a lot of times it's precaution. The most common one when you talk about stuff like this is when the guy goes into the locker room during a game or he gets injured during a game, then after the game you see him in a walking boot and everybody's like, oh my God, he's in a walking boot. And he's fine like 3 days later. That's just like, yeah, they wanted to make sure everything was good, keep like swelling down or whatever, right? So I'm not thinking anything of it. But then when he's done playing ping pong, he gets on a scooter and he's riding around on a scooter and he's not putting any weight on it. And they're like, okay, what's going on here? Then we find out he did not practice today. He practiced yesterday. I was out there. I have video of him in pads and practice yesterday. So somewhere between then and now, something happened. We just don't know to the level or extent of that something happening.
Right. If he had been hurt, I know he talked with the media yesterday after practice too.
Right.
And Mike and I were talking about this off the air. He would have been listed on the injury report yesterday if something happened during that practice, right?
That is correct. Unless it happened like at the very, very end, he didn't miss any reps or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be literally doing like sprints afterwards and roll your ankle or something like that. That's possible. But yes, Bulldog. But generally, if something happened at practice and he left, he'd have to be listed as limited.
Well, I mean, here's Captain Obvious, but it's a big injury.
He was maybe the best player on the field defensively for the Bills on Sunday.
For sure. And, I mean, now you're facing a really good running game. And Breece Hall and the Jets and what they did last week to the to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I mean they'd really be missing Ed Oliver if he's not out there. And what does that mean for them? Well, number one, it would most likely mean that T.J. Sanders would become a starter and play a lot. So would Deion Walker, but those would be the guys. But he would probably fill in for him. And number two is you'd have to elevate somebody. Now, they did sign another defensive lineman this week, Vidarian Mathis, who was literally he was a top 50 pick, I believe, like just 3 years ago. But for anybody to think, well, they signed him, so they must have known he was hurt. That's not the case. They signed him 2 days ago at Oliver practice yesterday. So it might just be fortunate that they signed him because you might need another guy. And I'm not saying it's necessarily him, but now at least you have a guy there at practice, and then you have a guy, another option. And my guess would be it would be Jordan Phillips or Zion Logue. But you're not going to roll into the Jets in the Meadowlands with 3 defensive tackles.
And the next time we'll get any sort of update will be tomorrow morning on the Extra Point Show, right? When you talk to Coach McDermott.
Good plug. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. Sean McDermott will be on the Extra Point Show tomorrow. Don't really know what time yet. It's always generally between 10:30 and 11:30. It just depends on the schedule for them and his other production meetings, but I would say between 10:30 and 11:30 most likely.
Got to hope that it's not a ping pong injury for the sake of that table. To have the ping pong table in the locker room, that could be it for the table.
What is playing ping pong with one of those boots on like anyway? Like I mean, it's not the most active lateral movement sport or activity. If I don't know, sport might be pushing it, but whatever. It's in the Olympics. Nonetheless,
it is.
That just seems a little nutty to me that he'd be in that boot playing ping pong.
Right to me too. Like as far as like, okay, he's playing ping pong. Like he's putting some weight. He's standing on it, right? And he wasn't playing ping pong on the scooter, by the way. He was literally standing on the foot.
That could be a fun sport.
But it's also ping pong. It's not like he was moving around like Jessica Pegula at the U.S. Open, right? And trying to chase from baseline to sideline.
Smaller
and all that.
Court, yes.
Right.
But you're not standing still, is all. I mean, you're not going to be successful. Although he's a big guy, the wingspan. I don't know. We'll spend some more time later, perhaps, analyzing ping pong in a walking boot. Is Oliver for you, Sal, through the years? Like, is he, if you will, properly rated? Is he somebody who gets the credit he deserves, or you think he's maybe underrated or overrated, or what?
I think he's about right for most fans, most media, and what I think the perception of him is, which is accurate. He's really talented, but he's inconsistent. And you can see the flashes like we saw last Sunday. He's had games like that before. Maybe not as an impactful play like we had on Sunday night with him stripping the ball in that situation. But I remember back in Dallas on Thanksgiving in 2019, he was just awesome in that game. And he's had some games like that over the years. And then there's been other games where you kind of don't notice him and he disappears. And a lot of that is circumstantial with him because of his style and his size. Like he kind of needs someone paired next to him that could gain some attention because then he gets one-on-ones and he can penetrate. When Ed Oliver's one-on-one, he's really tough. especially when he's not going against this like behemoth, really large, guy across from him who might be able to just kind of swallow him up a little bit, if you will. But even then, he's fast enough, he's quick enough. But double teams are tough for him because he's an undersized guy. But I think he's properly rated because I think most people think he's a really talented guy who just hasn't had the consistency throughout the years that you want to see on a week-to-week basis. He goes on heaters sometimes, like 2-3 weeks in a row, and then it's like, where's that Oliver been the last couple of games?
Mm-hmm. By the way, why a walkthrough today?
Like, I don't know if I mentioned it when I was saying it earlier. My guess is because, and I don't know this, probably because they had a harder practice yesterday and they want to get their, they do a lot. The Bills do a lot with sports science, and they really do. They have the monitors on everybody, and they monitor all their heart rates, movements, everything, all the work they do on a daily basis. And it's very possible. You remember yesterday they went full pads, right, on a Wednesday. And Sean McDermott said this has to be this week needs to be hard. And I would think that maybe they looked at all that data and said, let's back off them a little bit today. Make sure you get their bodies right. Make sure you get their legs back under them. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Now,
they do play next Thursday, too, by the way.
That is right. That's a good point, Bulldog. And you also, if you want to do like so full pads yesterday, it's kind of rare on a Wednesday. But if you try to do that later in the season, I don't even think you can. I think there's rules in the CBA which after a certain point you can't even have padded practices like that. So like if you're going to do that and you're going to catch up on any reps or whatever you're trying to do, then I think the only time to do that is like now until the middle of the season.
Apologies if you did answer my question from earlier or earlier when you were talking. Sal Capaccio on the Wester hotline, Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Did we yesterday get to the punter change? I'm not sure we did.
We did not.
I don't think we've talked to you about that move. I mean, Robbins didn't have a strong game. Were you surprised that they would make a move like that so quickly?
Yes, I was very surprised he was let go that quickly because I didn't see anything that would have necessarily, from my vantage point, warranted. But this is a great lesson in we don't know what the job is from the coaches sometimes. We don't know what the assignment is. We don't know what's exactly being expected and asked of them to do. And apparently it was something that they didn't want, whatever he was doing was not exactly up to what they wanted him to do. I asked Sean McDermott specifically about it on Monday, like why did they make the punting change, and he just said that they're always looking to improve, and it wasn't where they wanted it to be. So whatever that means, I'm not sure. But the guy they brought in, Cameron Johnston, he's Australian. I think he was with the Eagles too, but Houston Texans, Pittsburgh Steelers, and he had one punt last year, and then he got hurt, maybe on that punt even, or two punts maybe. First game.
Mm-hmm.
And he tears his ACL. And he doesn't punt all year.
In his kicking leg, by the way, right?
And then now he's back. And, I reached out to my buddy John Harris, who covers the Texans. You guys have talked to the sideline reporter. And I said, hey, tell me a little bit about the guy. He's like, he can really bomb it. Like, he can really flip the field if you need that. And that's the book on him. Like, he he was 3rd and 8th, I think, respectively, in yards per punt in his rookie year of 18 and the next year in 19. So the guy's got a leg. But I think the overall point is here that, hey, they moved on from a punter after one game when they kept him throughout the preseason, and he was the only guy they had, and it seemed like they were kind of set there. I guess they apparently weren't.
I wonder how much – certainly the performance of the punter would be the number one factor, but I wonder if the fact that they didn't spend all spring and summer building chemistry with a kicker and a holder and a snapper made it easier for them to do it, right? Because Prater's here, he doesn't work with this guy barely, right? And so when Bass was going well earlier in his career, I remember you making the point, when people were upset about the punter, I don't know, maybe it was Sam Martin or whoever it was, be like, yeah, they really like that part of it, and that chemistry is important, and maybe that offsets whatever you might be lacking in the actual job of punting the ball. That really is not pertinent right now given their kicking situation.
Yeah, exactly. I think the entire operation has to be on point, and they have kind of tinkered with some things over the last year or two. Tyler Bass obviously has had his struggles, And sometimes we talk about the holder. Sometimes we talk about, Tyler Bass himself. Then you have the injury to Tyler Bass. They didn't go out and sign anybody. They had 2 kickers. So I'm sorry, they had 2 punters this preseason. They wind up getting to just Brad Robbins, and now suddenly Brad Robbins is gone. So the entire operation matters. Everything matters when it comes to the snapper, the punter, the holder, the kicker, and all that. And we don't know exactly what's exactly important to everyone in those situations.
So now the Bills have a kicker and a punter whose 2024 seasons were cut short by knee injuries. That's the case with Prater too. Johnston from Australia, is he going to have a unique style? Do we know that? I don't remember, watching him in his career prior to this. So
not sure. We'll find out.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of these guys, they drop the ball a little different. The ball spins a little different. All those kinds of things.
Running start to the side even. He'll wear number 16 for the Bills, I believe, Johnston.
Yes.
Sal, are you buying the Jets?
I don't know what buying means. Like, am I buying that they're getting better or they'll be improved? Yeah. Am I buying that they're suddenly a threat to the Bills? No. Could they win this week? Sure. I mean, anything can happen, right? I mean, if the Bills lose this week, funny thing is, everybody's 0-1 except for the Bills, right, in the AFC East. But if the Jets win, the Bills drop to third automatically because they would all be, because the Jets would be 1-1 and have head-to-head, and the winner of the Miami Dolphins New England Patriots game would have a division win when the Bills would have a division loss. So the Bills would automatically drop to third place. So it's possible that could happen. I don't think that the Jets are a serious threat to the Bills right now. I like the fact that the Jets, I think, are changing their culture with Aaron Glenn. I like the fact that what I've seen so far in week 1 looks promising to them, that they can run the ball really well. I'm not sold on Justin Fields. I think that that's still you might get a really nice game one day and then you're like, we can't really have this guy as our long-term quarterback. And they have some talented players, obviously.
I think what is interesting there, and I say this as somebody that I think likes Fields more than consensus myself. I feel like the ceiling is like the Tua ceiling, or, what Dalton was for the Bengals, or Tannehill, one of these guys that look out. I mean, if they win 9 games, a huge improvement over last year. And, he generally plays like he did on Sunday. Some, big stuff in that game against the Steelers. They're going to want to keep going with him, I think. And maybe that's the right decision, but it's easier when you fall apart and then end up just starting over. Right. Yeah. I think he kind of provides that possible outcome here for them, which, is not to say that he's bad or anything. I just don't know if he can be great.
Yeah. I think that the Jets probably eventually will have to move on, from Justin Fields and make that decision. But I think that right now, he offers them an ability to do some things that might work even against the Bills after what you saw last week. And he has the potential to put up, some numbers at times, given what he can do with his legs.
Okay. You guys have a thought on the Brock Purdy injury with the Niners? The Niners have a bunch of injuries again. They say 2 to 5 weeks now on Purdy, so it'll be
wow,
Mac
really?
Jones.
That many?
Yeah, that was
but real quick before I go, I do want to tell you, Sauce Gardner showed up on the Jets injury report today with a groin injury. He was limited, so it's something to watch.
Okay.
Now, according, however, to Mike Garafolo, who followed it up, did say that he was walking around the locker room without any seemingly great concern after practice. So it's just something to monitor here.
Yep.
Josh Reynolds also shows up on their injury report limited with a hamstring injury. So I just want to make sure we got that in there.
Yeah, good. And I got one more note before we wrap up, not about Brock Purdy. Sorry, Mike.
That's all right.
Was there anything else notable on the Bills injury report, Sal, that we should, keep our eyes on?
I think mostly positive stuff. So real quick, the reason I say that, let's go through that. Taron Johnson returned today after missing yesterday. He was limited with the quad. We talked to him after practice today, after the walkthrough. Seemed like that was what was going well. Tre'Davious White, he spoke again today to the full media, and he was limited, but it feels like he's trending in the right direction, right? And he specifically said, we were like, hey, what do you think about Sunday? He's like, you guys know I can't tell you about that stuff. I'll get in trouble from Coach McDermott. So, he's kind of having some fun with it, so we don't know. But that's trending pretty well, I think, there. And then I think really good news to see, because he's a running back, you see hamstring, James Cook, he was limited yesterday. So nothing happened yesterday, obviously, because he was a full participant today in practice, which was good.
The other note is my friend Dave texted me to let me know that there was indeed a fourth member of the New York Sack Exchange, Abdul Salam, the late Abdul Salam. He died just a little less than a year ago.
He made it to the mid-'80s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was there. He predated all of them, but they all got together and he played. He was a part of that group.
He's not there anymore on the team we're talking about, like the Cleveland game. But yeah, he was a Jet for several years. That's right.
Yeah.
All right, Sal. So nothing. You guys on Brock Purdy? You refuse to talk about him. Interesting. Bulldog just will not engage.
I just had other stuff I wanted to get to, and mostly I wanted to mention my friend Dave.
Yeah, that was more important. Questions about the injury report. I'm sure the Jets' preparation is all different, not knowing whether Trey White will play on Sunday. Sal, thanks.
You got it, guys. Thank you.
There's our Sal Capaccio on the Wester Hotline. His appearances brought to you by New York's only outlet,